I'm going to call the City Council Urban Affairs Committee meeting to order. We have one item on our agenda. It is order number 21-100-8344. It is continued review. This was tabled at our last meeting, was postponed in committee, use the right terminology. It is a communication from Attorney Falk on behalf of Marlborough Industrial LLC regarding the proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650, Section 5 and Section 1836 by adding hobby vehicle storage as a warehousing use in the limited industrial district. Up on the screen for the benefit of the public is the amended language that we received from Attorney Falk. And you are here with us this evening. If you have anything you want to add before we get into the amendments that you've offered, or if anybody else has anything they want to say.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the red line you have up on your screen is in response to comments and recommendations from the Planning Board and also from councilors at our last meeting. The Planning Board recommended approval of this amendment, but they suggested that there be stronger language with respect to auto sales. As I mentioned last time, auto sales are a prohibited use in the limited industrial and industrial zoning districts, but we further amended the definition of hobby vehicle storage to provide that in addition to not being displayed outdoors for sale, vehicles may not be advertised for sale, which I think that plus the existing prohibition on auto sales should make it virtually impossible for anyone to do auto sales with this particular type of warehousing use. We also had questions and comments from councilors regarding whether there would be repairs and rehabilitation of vehicles with respect to this use. So we clarified that it would be only the minor repair of vehicles and that any major repairs or restoration work would have to take place off-site. There was a question about fuel storage. We've clarified that fuel may not be stored on site other than in the vehicles themselves and in some portable containers. And then finally, there was a question about what types of vehicles might be part of this warehousing use. And we clarified that these would be personal land-based vehicles, which I think should address tanks and whatever else might be of concern. So with these edits, I'm hopeful that we've addressed councilors' questions and comments and the recommendations from the Planning Board. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just echo or add a couple of comments. I did talk to both the solicitor and I talked to the building commissioner. The building commissioner has suggested, and the solicitor agreed, that in addition to adding the additional word minor in front of repair in that first sentence, that we also add the words incidental and accessory. So it would be minor, comma, incidental and accessory repair of personal land-based vehicles. The solicitor did also suggest, if there was still confusion on tanks, which I believe are still considered land-based, that we add in passenger vehicle, if that was a personal issue. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I was talking to the potential owner of the property, and he pointed out that all of his vehicles are actually registered. So I don't think a tank can be registered. But I would say that if it was housing maintenance and mines repair of personal land-based registered vehicles, put registered after land-based, that would actually address the issue to my.
And I guess we're not talking about a specific person, we're talking about code that's going to affect everybody. And yes. I'm not sure that every collector has cars that are registered necessarily. So to me, adding that word in would cause a concern for people who are collectors. The cars don't have to be registered, and they don't have to be registered in Massachusetts. They could be registered elsewhere and just warehoused in this site.
So technically, where a vehicle is stored must be where it gets registered. You know, that's why, but just in a general case, right?
Where the vehicles are being warehoused, that's all that's happening there. Mm-hmm. So,
but also by having it registered, there is an audit trail of what vehicles are actually stored there. So I see that as having multiple benefits by putting the term registered, if at all possible. I mean, that's where I wanted to go with this, and it seems that that would actually work out. but
All right, are you proposing that as an amendment
I am
to
proposing
this?
that to an amendment to put the term registered after personal land-based and before vehicles.
All right, so it would be personal land-based, registered, and the word passenger is not part of it.
If, yeah, fine, passenger is fine too, if you want to include that as well.
Registered, all right. Is there discussion, is there a second on the amendment first, I guess, I will ask? No. All right, how about just adding the word passenger as a recommendation by the solicitor? Is there a proposal for that? Is there someone, Councilor Wagner?
I would make that motion. I support that. I have concern over registered because that could be cost prohibitive. My understanding is you register a vehicle when it's going to be taken out on the road, and there are people who collect vehicles that aren't going to take them out on the road, and therefore they don't need to be registered.
Yeah, that's my concern. All right, so is there a second on the passenger, personal land-based passenger? Councilor Nabin?
Second.
The second? All right, so it's been moved and seconded to add in the word. Is everybody comfortable? First, I guess I didn't ask for an official motion to add in the incidental and accessory. Is that a sort of general consensus on those words?
I'll motion if necessary.
I'm sorry.
I agree with that.
Councilor
I'll
Doucette?
I'll motion that change.
All right, we'll take these one at a time then.
Madam Chair, just
Yes.
a clarification. Would incidental and accessory also be added to the other instance of minor further on down?
I think that he really only wanted it there, but it does make sense that since it is sort of a repeat of where they're happening, that it could probably be also added there. So does everybody understand that would be any maintenance or minor repair later on in the paragraph, both places? All right, we'll take that one first.
Did the city solicitor recommend both of these?
Yes. Minor, incidental, and accessory. He
Yeah.
agreed with the building commissioner, that was his request,
Okay.
that gets added in there. All right, is there further discussion on that addition? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we'll get to the, adding the word passenger, personal land-based passenger vehicles. Is there further discussion?
Just one more time, will you repeat what the city solicitor's idea was on that?
Well, I had just mentioned when we had the discussion at the last meeting that there was talk about tanks. And to me, a tank is not a tank is a land-based vehicle, so they could technically be stored here. If we don't want tanks stored, then we make it passenger, and that's the clarification.
And he felt that would be enough.
I brought up tractors, farm tractors. For this specific one, to me, a tractor isn't a passenger vehicle. It's a utility vehicle. So we're getting specific as to exactly what kind of vehicles can be stored as a hobby vehicle storage definition.
So we'll let the tank stay over in Hudson and we'll keep the passengers, huh?
I would think so. It would guess be cars, personal land-based passenger vehicles. You okay with, all right, any further discussion? All in favor? We got, okay. So the rest of this, to go through, we're adding in the words "or advertised" after displayed outdoors, so it reads displayed outdoors or advertised for sale, any maintenance or minor than incidental and accessory repair, and we're adding in that language, any major repairs or restoration work must take place off-site and fuel shall not be stored on-site other than the fuel tanks of the vehicles, not more than 5 5-gallon portable containers. I would also point out to everyone, in talking this through, there are 2 other uses within the city code. One is under agricultural, public, and institutional use that talks about museums specifically in the listing. It's public, private, religious schools, museums, libraries, parks, recreational facilities, buildings, and playgrounds. These are allowed by right in all zones in the city. However, if someone is going to the building department for a building permit for a museum, it would be a different site plan use, different criteria that they would look for. So I think there's a distinction between someone going to ask for hobby vehicle storage and someone going to ask for a museum. There's also a charitable and philanthropic building listing that is a special permit within most of the city, and they're not allowed at all in the RCR business, commercial, automotive, limited, industrial, and wayside district for someone coming in for those kinds of buildings. So if we approve this, it is a very specific kind of addition to the definition of manufacturing and warehousing that we're specifying, and only in LI and I. Is there further discussion by anybody on the committee of what we're doing exactly? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So if this hobby vehicle storage, after it gets settled and things kind of get worked out, if they decide to upgrade it to a museum, they'd have to go through another process.
I'm sorry, if what?
If they were going to upgrade, the hobby vehicle storage into, say, a museum of some sort, then they'd have to go through the whole process again. I mean, it can stay as hobby vehicle storage, but...
Right. The building permit is specifically for hobby vehicle storage. They would not be able to turn it into a museum because...
without coming back to this...
Without coming back.
Right,
Correct.
so they can, but they must come back to do that.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So the building permit would be specific, and as Attorney Falk had pointed out, I think at the last meeting, at least at the airport property, they would need to go to site plan for the building that would be proposed to be built. So site plan would be reviewing, and the building commissioner is part of site plan. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as amended?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Everybody's clear on we're amending the definition, and then we're amending section 650.18, the conditions for use. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I did talk to the solicitor. He was comfortable with, because of the deadline of October 18th, if this gets reported out at Monday's meeting and we suspend to have it referred to the solicitor, he would have it on the agenda for the 18th in proper form so that he can make the changes that we've approved tonight. Does that work for you? That gets us, this would be a amendment to the code, so it would have to go through the steps, but we could do that on the 18th, and hopefully there's no objection that evening. All right, so that's the plan. We will do that. That's our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.